A live studio audience is about to shoot unscripted questions. This is Agenda Kenya with Jason Nyantino.
On Agenda Kenya tonight, Honorable Mutava Musyimi, Presidential Hopeful and Member of Parliament Gashoka, Professor Atemu Micheka, former Vice Chancellor, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT, and last but not least, Maimuna Mwidau, Consultant in Gender and Democracy. Many thanks for joining us and welcome to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight on this program, we focus on various governance issues as the country prepares for the next general election. I've got audience members from Nairobi County, Nakuru County, and all the way from Isiolo County. Welcome aboard. Our first question is from Reverend Njeru, who is a clergyman from Nakuru.
Yes, my question goes to Professor Atemu Micheka. During your tenure as the CEO of NEMA, the national forest cover went down from 11% to 2%. And in particular, the Mau forest was almost completely depleted. What are you going to do different when you're elected to make sure that you conserve the environment?
I joined NEMA in the year 2003, and the Kenya and its forests were there all years back. The reality is that any country should have not less than 10% of forested land within its confines. When I joined NEMA, the forest that we had was about 1%, less than 10% specific. So really there had been deforestation many years backward, and after realizing the problem is getting worse, is where now everybody started saying we are actually having problems of deforestation countrywide. So when I joined there, the forest still was depleted. People realized the major headaches. I did articulate the issue of environmental problems, including pollution, degradation, soil erosions, etc. And we ended up now really being serious about the environment.
Is there any specific program or project that you initiated?
I did initiate, in fact, a lot of projects that are now in existence.
Just share with us some of them.
The Mau one was really written by us when I was in NEMA to the ministry, to the parent Ministry of Environment. Ones that cover the Mount Kenya ones, alongside our Nobel Prize winner, late Professor Wangari Maathai. Others are really even the ones on Nairobi cleanup at that time. Programs take longer, quite a long period of time to mature. So they were initiated just about my time. They are now being seen. Even the articulation, the talk about deforestation, degradation of environment were actually initiated just about my time, 2003, 2004, 2005 is when we even produced the first State of Environment report, which tells every county, including Isiolo, Nakuru, Nairobi, where we are at when we joined NEMA at that particular point in time.
How long were you in NEMA?
About 4 years.
About 4 years.
Yes.
Can you, just in a nutshell, your tenure in NEMA, was it illustrious? Was it good or bad? In your view?
In my view, my tenure in NEMA was extremely interesting. Problems of all types that face the nation, from construction to degradation to soil erosions, and therefore it was a mix of feelings. You have to deal with all types of developers, including those who want to put a house, say, on top of a river, telling him or her that this cannot be done. So to answer your question precisely is that it was a mix of reactions because of various interests of persons from the Republic of Kenya wanting to even continue to deforest some areas more than that. Therefore, it was a very challenging and interesting program. That's in fact why it still has some problems environmentally here at this point in time.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, you had Land and Natural Resources Committee in Parliament, don't you?
I do indeed, yes.
In terms of policy, you've heard what Professor said. Do we have the right policies in place in terms of protecting our forests?
I'm not sure we are moving as fast as we could. The minister responsible for this is Honorable Wekesa, Dr. Noah Wekesa. And I know that he has a draft policy and a draft bill, as far as I can know, that has yet to go through cabinet. We have gone through it with him as a committee, but it has not come to the floor of the House as yet. So it really is not the property of our people until it goes through cabinet, then goes through parliament. I
think parliament, Mheshimiwa, the way it is very funny. There's always a draft. You know, every time you ask a member, there's a draft being prepared. These drafts they never get ready.
Well, the draft bills are normally originated by ministers. Of course, a committee can originate a bill. A member of parliament can initiate a private member's bill. But this is something we've been working on with Honorable Wekesa for the last 2-3 years. We have tried to tell him we want to see that bill on the floor of the House yesterday. It hasn't happened. But we've put that case across to him enough times. The last was a retreat we had in Mombasa, I think about 3 months ago. Another one we had in Naivasha said the same thing about two years ago. So when bills take long, it is the cabinet that has to take responsibility, the ministers, because the bills bear the name of the minister responsible for that particular portfolio.
All right, I hope if you're elected president, you'll sort that out. My next question is from Emmanuel Wafula Wekesa, who is a student.
Thank you. My question goes to Maimuna. It's alleged that you're in support of the outlawed MRC. Can you please confirm it? And if so, can you say you have the spirit of nationalism in you? And still, how will MRC affect this nation economically?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. I come from Mombasa County, and I don't think the allegations are true that I support MRC. I support MRC issues. The issue that MRC has been raising is the issue of land that is common to the rest of the country. So the issue is a real issue. As, in terms of the strategy the MRC is using, that's a different debate altogether. But I do support the issue of land, and it does affect the rest of the country, not coast alone. So the issue of nationalism, yes, I'm a Kenyan. I hold a Kenyan citizenship. I hold a Kenyan ID. So definitely I'm a Kenyan, I'm a national, because when I discuss issues, I discuss national issues. So land issue is a national issue. It is not just an MRC issue. And you travel to any part of the country, go to Turkana, the people are complaining about land and their own resources. Go to eastern Kenya, the problem is the same. So the land issue is not specifically an MRC issue, but it is a national issue.
Let me get you clearly, Maimuna. You're saying you don't support MRC, but you support MRC issues.
Absolutely.
So where do you draw the line? Because if they stand for those issues you are raising, then principally you support them.
I definitely support their issue because they are issue-oriented. They are not talking about coast people as a tribe, as a people. They are talking about a national issue, that we have had land for a very long period of time, but we have been denied an opportunity. So I definitely support that.
So
the strategy of going about agitating for that issue is wrong. Yeah?
Government says MRC is illegal. What is, in your view, what is illegal about MRC?
According to government, calling for cessation is illegal. Okay. Yeah, that's the legal aspect of it. But agitating for the rights to your resources and land and opportunity, that's not illegal. Okay. That's very legal. And that's not unique to Kenya too. It is not the first time in this world or in this generation that you've heard of a specific section of a country wants to secede. Ethiopia had Eritrea. And it all boils down to being deprived an opportunity to use your resources, to be part of that nation. Okay. Now, if you are deprived that opportunity, I, as a coastal person, I can speak as a coastal person, I feel like I'm not part of the nation. And you can see recently the KPA saga. Now, does that reflect nationalism? Does that reflect the Kenya that we want? I think you know the answer.
All right, thank you, Maimuna, for that response. My next question is from Ken Sawe, who is a marketer. You'll have time. If you can drop in a word when I give you time next. There's no problem. Ken Sawe, you're next. You're a marketer.
My question is, the Minister for Trade recently appointed members of the board to the Kenya Ports Authority from one ethnic group. Was it justified? And secondly, why haven't you come out strongly to condemn such an issue, and yet you are planning to become the next president of Kenya?
All right. I think that should be Minister for Transport, Honorable Kimunya.
We should always get the best people, but the best people are everywhere. We cannot imagine that the best people only come from a certain part of Kenya. So it cannot be right. The struggle for reforms, those of you who have followed the history, was about the struggle for the distribution of power to all communities and distribution of resources to all communities. And that includes appointment to institutions like KPA. I don't know why we are taking so long to get it, but it cannot be right.
So what do we expect from Honorable Mutava Musyimi now that this problem has occurred?
Well, I've been asked a question and I've given an answer. I hadn't dealt with it before, but I am saying that my own view on these matters is very, very simple. I have stood against ethnicity in all my public life that spans nearly 3 decades, and there is no way that I can support the idea that you come from one community, the minister comes from that community, and those that will get elected or appointed also come from that community.
Yeah,
I just think
clearly
it's wrong.
you don't support it, but now, what do we do about it? I mean, you're even running for president, Honorable.
Yes.
So we expect solutions from you.
When the time comes to vote, because I think that's what you're asking me, please get leaders, enlightened leaders, people of integrity, people who are inclusive, people of values, people that are bankable. We have gotten all sort of excited about the groups we belong to, feeling marginalized, and eventually we end up becoming the property of the wealthy and of the powerful from our communities. And what we are saying, certainly in my campaign, the time has come, I believe, for Kenyans to vote for themselves. The time has come for people to vote for leaders who will stand with you on your agenda, regardless of where you come from. That time has come. Otherwise, we will lose this country to a few rich, powerful people and a few rich, powerful families.
Thank you for that. We take a short break now, but stay with us, don't go away. Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on various governance issues as the country prepares for the next general election. My next question of the evening is from Sunita Akinyi, who is a student. Sunita.
The cost of living in Kenya has greatly risen up, especially on necessities like milk, flour, and so on. And yes, the rate of inflation has reduced. So why is this happening? And you as aspirants, what are you doing? What would be your strategies and plans to curb this?
Honorable Mutava, cost of living.
Cost of living. We must deal with issues of governance. Thank you for that question. Governance has to address, among other things, corruption. We lose about a quarter to a third of the revenues that we collect to corruption. That is money down the road. So we've got to do something about corruption. It is costing us dearly. We need to get leaders in place, people of integrity, people that we can trust. We are getting the structures in place. We have the mother law now, the constitution. We are getting the laws passed. So we need the structures. The institution of government needs to be right. But you need the right people to man and woman these institutions of government. we need to do something about affordable credit, access to affordable credit. We need to carry on with the work on infrastructure so that the cost of production is low. Once you bring down the cost of production, the cost of goods and services and so on also comes down.
All right, Honorable.
Yes.
You've cited three things. We fight corruption.
Yes.
We get in leaders of integrity.
Yes.
And affordable credit.
Yes.
I want to be very specific in terms of fighting corruption. What will you propose as a future president of Kenya? How will you fight this corruption? We've talked about this for decades. Give us a specific program.
First of all, the law that we use, the ethics, the anti-corruption law, doesn't really give the commissioners sufficient teeth. Mm-hmm. I think that has been said enough times. I was one of those who are opposed to the names that were proposed by the President and the Prime Minister. I serve in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and we rejected them. There was a lot of lobby from my community because of a certain person. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, let us get the right people to head these institutions and to be responsible to lead the fight against corruption.
What is that process now? Because all has gone silent.
I think Eugene Wamala, the new Minister for Justice, has got to get it going again because Parliament has issues with those names. But fighting corruption is more than just the commission. The corruption is the structures you have. It has now become a culture. And once something becomes part of who we are, then you have a problem. Because it isn't just the thing for the president. The president has got to lead from the top. I like the old Vaseline hair tonic that used to say, starting at the top. It's got to start from the top. I think if you fix the top, then it cascades downwards, and you begin to deal with this problem.
You touched on integrity.
Yes.
Do you pass the integrity test yourself?
I want to believe I do, Jason.
Have you declared your wealth?
Yes, I have, yes.
How much are you worth? Could you share with us? How much are you worth?
I'm as poor as a church mouse. Not
we want to know how poor or rich you are. Quickly, please, Mheshimiwa.
Well, I mean, I have loans. I have a few assets.
You don't seem to have a figure. Do you have a figure? How much are you worth?
How much am I worth today?
3 billion, 2 billion?
No, it's not in billions, I can assure you.
Okay. Before I'll come to the audience, please. I want to hear, are you an aspirant, Professor?
At this point in time,
are you going to vie for a post?
I'm just thinking, and please, that's not a good answer to
please,
now.
What I want you to do for us is...
Yes, please.
There was a question on cost of living.
I want to hear from you
what solutions, very quickly, before
let me just really say this. Thanks for the very nice question on cost of living. I do know the headaches. My field of specialization is in agriculture, environment, and pesticides in totality. I was in the rural the other day and really found out the cost of living. For example, the 2 kilo gorogoro of maize is going between 100 and 140 shillings in Western Kenya, Nyamira, Kisii, Kericho, Bomet. That is heavy.
Why is that the case?
The case is this, that we are not really making any major preservation of what we harvest adequately. We lose what we harvest. We don't take seriousness in really making sure that whatever we even now plant, the maize seed in Western Kenya is a total wash. Completely not going to do this year. As much as we have the rains, we do have problems of poor seed quality, whose yields will come to perhaps not zero. So really, my suggestion is this. As he said earlier, Honorable, credit, government intercedes, comes in, even reduces the price of sugar. We grow sugar cane here a lot more than what we actually should even have. We have problems on policy issues, simple policy issues, conservation, preservation, adding value adding on what we even harvest. That is, I think, where the crutch of the matter starts.
Thank you, Professor. Now, audience, I need to hear from make them sharp and short. The lady, second last row. Your name, comment or question?
Yeah, my name is Fatuma Jambi. I'm a social worker. My question is, for Honorable Mutava Musimi, you want to vie for presidency. And us as young people are used to, of course, when you're not elected, you have very good policies, very good words, and we appreciate. So what are you going to do that is different so that us people can vote for you?
Thank you, Fatuma.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Fatuma. I have served now as a member of parliament for 4 years and a bit for Gashoka. I want Gashoka to be an open book. The things that I sat down with the constituents and we agreed we work on: education, water, title deeds, electricity, roads, food security. Where are we with the things that we agreed with the people of Gashoka? I would say to date we probably are at about 70%. And the people ask me, why aren't you doing the rounds in the country as much as you should? I have said, I am not going to start a serious campaign until I have prosecuted the Gashoka agenda to my satisfaction. I have got another 2 months to go. So you've got to be loyal to the agenda of the people that elect you. I think you'd have to start with the Gashoka, because there is no other job I have done to which I have been elected, unless, of course, we go to NCCK or to the job I was doing before that. Secondly, I am very clear what we need to deal with when we come to State House. The economy must grow. We must, and I think credit to President Kibaki. President Kibaki has made us understand that the number one thing in politics is economy. Secondly, issues of governance that we began to deal with. And
Mheshimiwa,
thirdly,
you say the economy must grow. Please tell us how. How will you make it grow?
The infrastructure is important. Water needs to be accessed by all. Mm-hmm. Health services need to be accessed by all. Education, and especially middle-level institutions. I'm particularly very concerned that we are not investing enough in technical schools and polytechnics. When I went to Gashoka, we had 1 polytechnic. Now we have 7. We have spent over 20 million shillings just doing technical schools because not every kid goes beyond Form 1. And we have a lot of young people who need to be supported. So I would say this, Fatuma: economy, governance, and especially youth skills. We've got to be very, very bold in empowering our young people. And that's not just hype.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. The gentleman right here in Thai.
I'm Eliakim Isiche. I'm a guiding and counseling in the field dealing with the HIV and AIDS. But I want to ask the most important question to all of you, that no one has even answered the question, but you are explaining the question. And I don't know why you are running away from it. Because the questions were asked. Since you asked the question number 1, you just explain a little bit, and you do not, because you are asked, what's the main thing that you will want to do when you have been elected? And then the next question you were asked about the corruption. And you say that we should not expect to select a good person. Can you elongate a little bit? What does it mean so that you can elect a person that is very good experience in very well controlling corruption? Do you need, again, because corruption has been a culture since we were born. Even the child who is in the stomach knows about corruption. How it is going to be ended? Can you tell us right now?
Thank you, Lekut. I'll take that to Maimuna, because Mheshimiwa has partially responded to that. What is the main thing you will do? By the way, you're running for office.
Yeah, I'll probably be the next president of the Republic of Kenya.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So tell us, what is that main thing that Eliakim wants to know? What is that main thing you will do? Then tell us about your solutions to corruption.
The problems are many, yeah? And when we talk about corruption, we tend to think in terms of maybe the leadership itself is corrupt, yeah? In terms of saying the voter is the one who's not corrupt. But corruption is a two-way traffic. It starts between me and yourself. Now, if I come to you asking for a vote and you demand 100 shillings, we are both corrupt. Unless we can get out of that culture, as you say, there's a culture in our society. Unless we can move from that level, then we will be dealing with corruption. The high level of corruption at Goldenberg level, Anglo-leasing level, now we need the judiciary to do that. If the judiciary does not operate at a much higher level, then we see issues where ministers' names are expunged from reports, they are cleared.
I just want to know this.
Yes.
If you're in Mombasa running for whichever post.
Presidency.
Presidency,
Yeah.
like you say. Then you find a bunch of young people. Then tell them, Mamuna, we want money. Give us money. Give us transport. That's how they call it, transport, facilitation, What will you do?
I actually will not give it because I've been on the ground before, Jason. And I know what it's all about. It's very secretive, but it's happening. We are the same people talking about corruption, yet we are the same people giving it out. But again, as I said, we are all responsible for the corruption in the country. And you know that you will not get a single vote if you are not going to give the transport.
There's a question you have not answered, Maimuna.
Yes.
That one thing that you will do as Maimuna, if you are elected president or whatever post you're running.
Yes. I will make sure that whoever was involved in Golden Bag or Anglo leasing is jailed. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you. I need to, this side now. The lady in the third row. Your name, comment, or question?
My name is Beth Mungai. I'm a student. My question goes to Mutava Musimi, Honorable Mutava Musimi. I would like to know, like the likes of Gema, Kamatusa, the groups, the ethnic groups that are there right now, what is part of your election team? Are you trying to have something different? What comprises of your election team right now? Thank you.
Thank you. Please give us a list of who is on your election team. Very quickly, please.
I have a secretariat that has Kenyans from everywhere.
If you don't mind, give us their names.
They are not. Some of them are not full time, and I don't. The person who is full time is Fred Nyabera. He comes from Bondo. If that's any help.
He comes from Bondo.
Yes.
Where do the others come from?
Well, that is the only person that I have that is full time at the moment.
Give us your position. What do you make of ethnic mobilization that is going on about Gema, Kamatusa?
I absolutely can't stand it. I think it is wrong. As I said, I have watched clashes from 1991. It is very costly, and I think it is very, very myopic. It will not take us anywhere.
So if you are elected as president, how will you fight ethnicity?
You know, there is one thing we are running away from. The leaders tend to set the tone. Get the right leaders, we sort out this country. Get the right leaders as governors, as members of parliament, as president, vice president, we sort out this country. How do I hope to do it? Make me president, and I will get people of capacity, people who are able. That's what I have done all my life, from all communities, all faiths, both genders, people with disabilities. They are Kenyans.
And we should take your word for it.
Yes, take it to the bank.
We take it to the bank?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Time for our second break. But if you're watching us from home, this is a good opportunity for you to be part of this discussion by answering this question. Do you think the new constitution will produce better leaders than the ones we have now? Do you think the new constitution will give us better leaders than the ones we have now? Text your response to the number on your screen. Give us your name and where you're watching us from. You can also follow this debate on Twitter using #AgendaKenya. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on various public interest issues as the country prepares for the next general election. My next question is from Kibuthu Peter, who is a lecturer cum theologian.
We need private investors here in Kenya, but should they control our economy? And have we benefited from the privatization? Give an example of the Kenya Railways and Telco and other institutions here in Kenya.
All right, Professor Mcheki, talking about foreign private investors.
Thank you very much, Kibutha. Really, that's a loaded question, and I'd like to say this. Yes and no. There are areas where we need private investors to expedite, bring in synergy on what we do. Certain areas, we don't actually need private investors. They shall not make you be better than what you actually are. A private investor comes in on a win-win situation. No private investor will go to a country where they shall not actually gain. Therefore, like the railways we are talking about, those who came for it wanted to come and make money out of it, use it for other purposes. So really when we go private investment, we must be extremely careful and choose groups that we know will if, for example, somebody came from Toyota Motors to say, I want to invest in Kenya, Toyota Motors in Kenya, manufacture vehicles there, and actually have them sold within that country. That is a profitable private investor. But still that investor shall need to actually gain from that investment. They shall not make us stick as much as we could, but they will actually give us synergy so that we boost and attain the 2030 Kenya vision that we're talking about.
All right, thank you, Prof. Maimuna, the coastal region is actually dominated, you can correct me if I'm wrong, by foreign investors, right, from the tourism to everything else. Mm-hmm. What is your position, like somebody's running for office? Will you want to undo that, and why?
Thank you, Jason. As I have already been discussing about corruption, part of that dominance of foreigners or foreign investors in the coast is actually the real corruption that has been going on in the country. Okay, investors are good because they would come and invest in a country, create employment, so the citizens get good employment, and they utilize the funds to develop those specific areas or the country as a whole. However, if you have noticed, and anybody who's coming from the coast will notice that prime land has been taken away from the locals, and the partnership of the investors is the same corrupt leadership that we have in the country. It's not about investment with the local people. Ideally, if you invested with the local people, then you would have developed the local resources. But what we have seen is, and that again will come back to the issue of MRC, which has actually brought up the agenda to be discussed as an issue. Yeah, it's not about our personalities anymore in the coast. We are not interested with our ministers, we are not interested with our MPs, because they don't drive the agenda, because they are part and parcel of the big C, which is corruption. Okay. So investors are not necessarily bad, but it depends who are they coming to invest with. Are they investing with the leadership that is skewed, or are they promoting the well-being of the local communities?
All right.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, I know there are land laws that have just passed through Parliament. Just run us through. Are they going to solve what Maimuna is raising?
Well, when we finished killing each other in 08, and the Kofi Annan came here, Jason, one of the things that we agreed we had to do was land reform. And the land reform issue has been a very tricky issue. I am glad to say, as chairman of the Committee on Lands and Natural Resources of Parliament, we now have 3 laws that have been enacted. They were signed into law on Sunday by the President himself. We have the National Land Commission law. We have the land registration law that revises, consolidates, and rationalizes land registration in Kenya. We have the substantive land law, which also revises, consolidates, and rationalizes land laws. There are a lot of land laws in Kenya that have come to be our laws over the last 100 years. We have 3. We have 1 more to go that is very crucial, called the community law, that will affect our people across the country, especially in the coastal areas and places where you have what we call trust land, group ranches, and so on and so forth.
So are we expecting a better regime in terms of land law?
Well, you now have 3. It's an absolute revolution. You have 3 new laws. And 1 more is coming, we hope, within the next 2-3 months. If you want to change Kenya, get the structures in place, beginning with the new constitution, get the laws in place, and then get the leadership to implement those laws.
All right,
you're as good as the laws you get and the leadership that you elect.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Yeah. At the back, let me go to the back. There's a gentleman.
My name is Boniface Kagwe. I'm a member of the Water Action Group in Nairobi. I have a question for Mheshimiwa. The National Land Commission, one of its mandates is to seek redress on historical land injustices and recommend appropriate redress. Is that enough only to recommend appropriate redress? Is it appropriate that the National Land Commission be given a mandate to prosecute?
Thank you. I'll take one more before Mheshimiwa responds. I'll come to this side. There's a lady at the back. Last row.
My name is Armerilia Kimnyonje, and my question goes to Professor Atemo Micheka towards economy of Kenya. I remember towards the end of last year, we had sugar prices being hiked to that extent that a common mwananchi could not even buy it. Here came also petrol being hiked all over a sudden. And there was a debate in Parliament about controlling prices for the commodities in order for the common mwananchi to live a normal or at least a moderate life. What measures do you take in order for a common mwananchi not to suffer that much?
Thank you. Mheshimiwa, you will take that on Land Commission, then Professor will respond.
Well, thank you, Boniface, for that question. I think the issue of historical injustices has been with us, particularly in the last couple of years. And what I get the sense that Parliament is more or less agreed that we now need a separate statute to deal with this matter of historical injustices.
So are you telling us that the law already in place about National Land Commission is not sufficient?
Well, there is mention of historical injustices in the land policy. There is mention in some of the statutes that we have passed. But there is the feeling that the emotions and expectations are so high and so complex, they deserve specific attention by a specific statute, a specific law.
Which statute is that?
It will be Historical Injustices Act. Yeah.
Are you the one who's going to move this motion in Parliament?
Well, no, these are bills that must come through the minister.
From the executive?
Yes.
All right.
James Orengo, Honorable James Orengo.
All right. I hope he's watching this show tonight.
I hope so too.
Professor, there was a question about prices of sugar and petrol.
Thanks a lot, Mayor, really. I think I did say earlier that really prices of sugar, maize, petrol, consumables, even bread, we really should have a policy controlling those prices. We have had problems of putting prices in some places, and therefore the country does not continuously control what is to be sold to the persons who stay either in the cities, in the rural areas. Honorable Muthota has been talking about cartels. Persons hoarding, stopping not to sell, to wait for prices to go up. And I think it's true that when these cartels pick up some of these commodities, they hold back or don't sell them, and there is no policy now to be actually put in place to control those prices. I would hope that in the next government, there shall be specific policies to allow for the growth of the economy and allow for the reduction of some of these prices, where we even have crops like maize that goes on rot because of extremely poor policy and the transportation.
There's this Malawi case that is being cited. You know, Malawi was food deficient for a long time. But when the late President Mutharika came in, he actually overhauled, and Malawi is able to produce a lot of food, even for export. Can't we do that here?
We actually can do it. Kenya here is capable, with its 20% or 18% arable land, we are capable of getting almost everything that we want in way of easy food crops. The problem is that the policies we now have actually in place do not allow for anybody to do what the policy does not, that just allows for everybody to go about pegging prices as need comes. When you hear about people holding some commodity and not selling it, the demand becomes extremely high, and therefore people begin suffering. My point to the future, hopefully future president, is that if you have exact good policies, better production systems, for example, I said about seed that we are now planting is fake. How does that actually come into play? The price will now keep on going up because of open market, and nobody follows up those policies that even exist.
All right. Maimuna, These food prices and petrol, they've been a thorn in the neck. Do you have a solution as an aspiring president, you say?
Yes.
Please give us hope.
It's a difficult question. I'm not an economist, but as a layman, we've been hearing of cartels in the oil industry, and they control the supply of fuel. And those cartels, they have their own godfathers, as we say in Kenya. That is a well-known fact. So they can determine whether we are going to buy fuel at a higher cost or at a lower cost. And if you have noticed, around election time, that is when we have skyrocket prices. So somebody somewhere is making a little bit of money here and there. And again, as I said, I want to become a president of Kenya, but I don't have the resources to give each and every one of you. So if you have to vote, you just have to vote because you believe in Maimuna.
What do you mean you don't have enough resources?
I don't have the resources to give out. I don't have a Range Rover, neither can I bring all of you to the municipal stadium or city stadium where I can abuse somebody else. I don't have that. I'm just an honest person who wants to change the country. So if you want to vote for me.
She doesn't have a chopper, so you've heard
Absolutely.
She doesn't have a chopper. The lady on my extreme, in green, on my left. Your question, please.
My name is Caroline Joki, and I'm a health worker. And you said fake seeds. Do you mean that we introduce GMO seeds? Be direct, please.
Caroline, thank you very much. No, GMOs really have not come in total play in Kenya yet. What I'm saying is that there is a company called Kenya Seed Company in this republic, which is charged with producing certified seed for planting, selling, etc. At some point, people come in between, grow the seed, put in bags, imitate the one that is produced by the Kenya Seed Company, and then we lose it actually. That is exactly what I'm saying, that in Western Kenya, I went around the country reasonably long, and I found out that the existing crop that we have, particularly in high potential areas, Western Nyanza, Kisii, Nyamira, Kericho, Bomet, the seed that came into play, the seed that was being sold there was actually a seed most likely not by the actual Kenya Seed Company. GMOs are still another that's a very heavy topic to discuss at this point in time. But in Kenya here, we have not gotten completely into GMOs at this point in time. And I would just advise that I teach students on those courses really, on GMOs, the benefits, the disadvantages on that. So that is completely different on this particular
But just
talk.
one, do you support Kenya to have GMOs or you don't? Just yes or no?
I do support Kenya to have GMOs on certain specific crops, not every crop at all.
All right.
I do support it, but selected crop species.
All right, Mheshimiwa, just one word, please, about your candidature. What do you have to say?
Well, I think that the time has come, as I said, especially for the young people, to make a decision about your future. These elections are about you, not about who is the leader of which community. And when you buy unga, you board a matatu, you board alone. You don't board with community leaders. So vote for yourself. Look for leaders who have agendas that suit you and the people that you can trust with power and with resources.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that does it for this week's edition of Agenda Kenya. I thank my panel, my studio audience for that wonderful, wonderful discussion, and to all of you at home for watching. You can still be part of this discussion by answering this question. Do you think the new constitution will produce better leaders than the ones we have now? You know the drill. Text your answer to the number on your screen. Give us your name and where you're watching us from. You can also follow this debate on Twitter using hashtag Agenda Kenya and also our Facebook link. And until next week, goodbye.